Brooklyn. Bringing the hood to you. Bringing it, what you gonna do?
Introducing to you former WWE superstar, a successful author, and a member of the most famous tag team, the Cryme Tyme. Ladies and gentlemen, this is JTG.
Yo, it's your boy JTG, aka former WWE superstar, aka the flyest man in sports entertainment. One half of the hottest tag team, Cryme Tyme. We in the building. Cheer. Holla at me, AJ.
One and the only JTG. We miss you so much. Your career has been nothing but inspirational. You have started all the way from the bottom and you've come all the way to the top. Now, we know that as soon as you graduated high school, you went to Charlotte, where you trained with Gene Ligon, and after that, you went to OVW. So, you, JTG, who has been in both of the WWE's development territories, that is OVW and NXT, how would you compare the two? What are the similarities and the dissimilarities between the two?
When I did NXT, it wasn't a developmental territory per se. It was more of a show. It was the WWE superstars who were the pros, and then you had talent that didn't have too much TV experience, and they were put with pros. So I had a rookie. And what NXT is today is totally different. These NXT stars are making a name for themselves. They don't need pros. And they're coming on the scene making noise.
Yes. So you have worked both in the WWE as well. You are working currently in the circuit. Which one do you prefer more?
I'll be honest with you. I've had a good time working with Joey Ryan's bar wrestling here in California. You know, it's a very intimate team. The crowd is right up on the ring, so you got to make sure that your skills are tight, because you can't just go in there and wrestle. You have to entertain this audience, and if they're not entertained, they're going to let you know.
Absolutely. So you think that working the indie circuit is more fun than working in the WWE?
Both has their pros and cons. I love working with the WWE because of the traveling, the audience cover worldwide.
Right.
It's just the politics that really, got under my skin. In independent wrestling, there's not so much politics. You go in there, you do your thing, and go to the next town.
Right. So speaking of politics, in the past years, you wrote two books that were Damn, Why Did I Write This Book? And Damn, Why Did I Write This Book Too? And in those books, you spoke a lot about heat. Would you like to give us like a quick intro on what the book was? Why did you really write those books? And what is the heat that you were talking about in them?
Okay, so heat, I'll explain it as cooties for grown-ass men. Cooties, it could be a black cloud that's hovering over a talent or a WWE superstar that they can't get rid of. Getting heat could be stepping on somebody's foot that's higher in the hierarchy than you, high up in the pyramid. You step on their foot, piss them off, and then next thing you know, no one wants to sit with you in catering. Nobody wants to be associated with you because you have this heat that you got. You could get heat for wearing shades in the building. This guy thinks he's a superstar. And then if the right person says that, then it's like, oh, I don't want to be associated with him because this guy doesn't like him and he's a top guy and I want to be on this top guy, the good side. So there's a lot of that going on in the locker room, backstage. Heat, me and my tag team partner, Shad, we got a lot of heat in our career. And I'm surprised we made it that far. But we overcompensated with talent, charisma, creativity, which made us stay that long. Especially me, I lasted 8 years. And the reason why I wrote the book is because a book like that never been written. And I wasn't going to write a book. I'm not an author. I'm not a writer by any chance. It's just something that a lot of friends and family, they heard my stories and they have no clue about the wrestling world. So when I would tell them about it, totally like, what? That's crazy. That's like, you need to put this on paper. And then I wrote a few down, and then I started writing more, and then I decided to put it out independently.
And the book is now available on Amazon for just $9.99, both of them.
You could get the audiobook or the ebook. They're both available on Amazon, iTunes, Google Store. Yeah, you can find it anywhere.
That's awesome. I have to ask you this. After you released these books, did you gain any heat after that?
I don't know. I'm not in the locker room to know. I know that a lot of the superstars that did read the book, they loved it because I hit the nail on the head. Zack Ryder's a big fan of my book. A lot of the superstars, they listen to the audiobook and on their plane rides, they're like, yo, Jay, you wrote a classic here. This is great. I was entertained. I'm going to listen to it again just in case I missed something. And then that means a lot to me that my peers got their respect and that they love my art.
Well, I'm sure that CM Punk is a fan of your book, talking about backstage politics. I feel that he's a victim of that politics.
Oh yeah, we all are. We all are.
Yes. All right. So, speaking of everything that WWE usually, addresses, such as be a star, something like bullying, racism, WWE has addressed all of those issues. But what do you feel? Does racism still exist in the company?
I wouldn't say that it exists in the company. From my experience, I would say that the WWE mirrors what's going on in society. So if there's racism going on in society, it's going to mirror in the wrestling world. What wrestling does is mirror what's going on mainstream and what's going on in pop culture.
Right.
Like, for example, Black Panther is very popular right now. You got New Day wearing African attire. You see,
Right.
we just mirror what's going on mainstream and pop culture.
What are your thoughts on Hulk Hogan? So many people say that for years, Hulk Hogan was given what people call the Chris Benoit treatment. He was barred from all the WWE programming, all the advertising, and then 2 days earlier, he just showed up for Andre the Giant's documentary. What do you feel about that?
He already showed me. He already took his mask off. He already showed me his cards. He said he was a racist. So I'm unapologetically black. I love being black. And if you tell me that you're a racist, I really don't want anything to do with you.
What are your thoughts on your very own team, the Cryme Time?
My thoughts, we were fun loving. We love to get it popping. We were entertaining. I was something that I wanted to see when I was growing up. Growing up, African American, I didn't see too many black superstars that looked like me. And if they were too gimmicky. I couldn't really relate. So when I came on the scene, I was also a caricature, but I was just me with the volume turned up. Kids from Brooklyn could relate to someone rocking Timbs and jeans and rocking fitted caps. They could relate to that. That's why we were so popular.
I must say, 10 years ago, when I was 11 or 12 years old, I used to play this game, SmackDown versus Raw 2008. And I was not very familiar with wrestlers at that time. I was still new to the game. And I always chose this character, JTG, from Prime Time. And I must say that you made my childhood. It was great, So thank you for that.
Thank you.
One more question. Who do you hold responsible in the WWE for this stereotypical gimmick?
I don't hold one person solely responsible because sometimes it's the talent that comes up with the gimmicks or the ideas, and the WWE just greenlights it. Like, for example, if you want to call our gimmick stereotypical, we were doing that in OVW, Shad and I. The only thing that WWE did was give us a platform and magnified our personalities. So there's no one person in creative saying, yeah, let's give these guys have them stealing and and making fun of white folks. It's not like that.
Perfect. So WrestleMania 34 is just days away. What are your thoughts on the card so far?
From 1 out of 10, I give it a strong 7.5.
Mm-hmm.
I'm looking forward to the John Cena Undertaker match. I'm looking forward to Flair and Asuka.
This is Ronda
Another
Rousey.
match. It's her first match. I'm gonna be more on the edge of my seat, seeing how she performs, hoping that she could deliver. I have a feeling she has a lot of nervous energy in her, and I hope she could. We'll see. I hope she does good. I hope she's around for a long time too.
Mm-hmm.
Brock and Roman. Nah. I'm glad to see Daniel Bryan back, but I preferred to see him in a singles match.
Mm-hmm.
And for Braun, for what he was given, I hope that he's in a tag team match by himself and he wins the tag team champions belts by himself. That'll be great. Does Sasha have a match?
That's the thing. I was going to ask you this. So Sasha and Bailey have been, they have been teasing a rivalry between the two, but the match is still not official. The same with Undertaker and John Cena. What do you think that we are just a week away from WrestleMania and these two main event matches are not official?
It's official. Undertaker's John Cena versus Undertaker, of course. That's official. You heard it here first. Come on. I would like to see Sasha and Bailey show. Yeah, I can see them being the pre-show and tearing it up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I can see them doing that. The tag team match, the Usos, and I'm not really buying the gimmick with them brothers.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, I love to see the Usos and the New Day perform, but I've seen that match over and over again.
Yes.
So adding the Bolden brothers doesn't make it any. Yeah, it doesn't do anything for me. I'm just keeping it real on here. I can keep it real on here. It's okay.
And what do you feel about Roman Reigns main eventing WrestleMania for the fourth year in a row?
That's cool. I guess the fans want it. Fans like the fans love them, so you have to give the fans what they want, right?
If you and Chad were still in the WWE, who would you like to face? The Bar or the Usos?
Definitely the Usos. I think the Usos and Cryme Time will have a lot of chemistry. I hope that there's a lot of similarities, and I think the fans will want to see Cryme Time versus the Usos more. I always go with the fans want. They're the ones buying the tickets, and they're the ones that's buying the merchandise.
I would love that too. And what about your relationship with Chad and any other superstar that you are still in touch with?
Shad and I are great. That's like family at this point. We're actually traveling next week. We're going to the Dominican Republic for some independent shows and some media. So that's going to be fun. I call it workation because we're working, but it's actually a vacation.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, we're cool. I stay in touch with a lot of the guys. I stay in touch with Kofi, Mark Henry. Dolph Ziggler's the homie, Jay White's the homie. So yeah, I have a lot of friends back there in the locker room.
That is perfect. What are your thoughts on WWE dropping the name of Fabulous Moolah from the Women's Battle Royal?
Well, if the accusations are true, it's well deserved. She's out there big pimping for real.
Well, yeah, I hope that is not true because it's a terrible thing to do.
Yeah, you want her to get Chris Benoit too. Isn't she in the Hall of Fame?
Yes, she is.
Yeah, well, I hope it's not true.
I hope so too. All right, so it's been fun so far. Now I'm going to play 5 entrance teams, and you have to guess the superstar who the team belongs to.
All right, I'm ready.
Viva la raza!
That is Eddie Guerrero, that's correct. Okay, here comes the second one. That's correct.
Name right?
You got it right. Perfect.
He's gonna give me some songs from the '80s or something like that. I thought he was
Yeah,
gonna give me a challenge.
I'm not that savage. I can't do that. All right, here comes the third one. Correct.
Here comes the money.
Here we go. Yeah.
Jinder?
That's Jinder. Are you friends with Jinder Mahal?
Yeah, I left his name out. Yeah, that's the homie too. Yeah, I spoke to him not too long ago.
Since you, JTG, you have done it all. You have starred in films. You have been an author, a very successful wrestler. So what is your advice to the aspiring wrestlers and the upcoming generation of pro wrestlers?
My advice is to read both my books. In both those books, I give away so much knowledge and wisdom, stuff that I went through that future talent could avoid. The politics, how to avoid heat, what to do in certain situations that you will come across. And I talked about my OVW career all the way to 2014. So that's almost 10, 11 years of experience in 2 books. And the links are in my bio. And, when wrestlers write a book, they come across bitter. Like the end of the career, they talked about bitter, what should have happened. And this book, it's straight comedy. I wrote it with a very humorous mentality and attitude. There's nothing bitter about this book. it is what it is. Everything happens for a reason. I'm not going to complain or come across like I've been slighted. I'm happy with the way my career went. There's some things I could have changed, of course, but I don't have a time machine. I don't have a DeLorean. So I'm happy with the way things, landed up, and I like the direction that where my life is going now. If you ever do get into wrestling, egos, you leave your egos at the door, and be prepared to eat shit and like it. That's pretty much the wrestling business.
Yeah, earlier I said that your career is nothing but inspirational. I must say it's not just your career, but even you and your words are totally inspirational. It's going to inspire a lot of people.
Thank you.
Absolutely. It was a pleasure having you. And since you are my first guest on the show, I will be sending you, as a token of appreciation, an exclusive Wrestling News t-shirt your way.
Yay.
And one last question before I let you go. Will we ever see Cryme Tyme and JTG back in the WWE?
We'll see, man. If they call with some good numbers, if there's enough zeros on that check, I'll come walking right back.
We are eagerly waiting for that. All right. Thank you so much, JTG.
Take care. Peace.
Pleasure.
Thanks for watching. You can now buy Wrestling News exclusive t-shirts only on ProWrestlingTees.com. Please subscribe to the channel and buy our shirts to support us. Thank you.